All right. I think we are up and running. I'm just doing some last minute sound check stuff to make sure everything is coming in clear. Bruh. See, the bruh button is working. What I will do is jump over to the drawing stream layout and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, here we are. I'm gonna need to put a note up on the screen while I work on the BGM real quick. Ah, Wazzy's here. Wazzy says, how's Path to Affiliate going? It's going pretty good. Like I said, I've only done a few streams here on Twitch, but things definitely are picking up pace. I think I've got you to thank for most of your community coming over here to hang out on my streams. Though I do appreciate it. Hey, Sour Lad's here. Sour Lad says, hi, Raku. What's up, Sour Lad? How you doing today? I'm going to need to figure out a good solution for getting the chat on this particular overlay for the drawing streams, since my Clip Studio background is primarily white when I'm working on stuff, and I don't have a transparent window for chat yet on this overlay. Right now I have you guys in the lower left corner. It's slightly visible. I think it'll be good for the archives for now, but I'm going to need to update this particular overlay. It's even got my old logo on it. But before we get started, I also switched Clip Studio to dark mode so things will show up better and it's not so glaringly blinding. Let's do this. As we do on the drawing streams, where we're working with the live loops, I am going to work on putting together a background track for us to use for the stream today. And so I've got my loop over here just off to the side and I can reach it. So while we get up and running here, I'll just leave the status message on screen, and I'm going to work on creating something for us to use as background noise. Bruh. I think the levels are about where they need to be, but I'm going to tweak things since it has been a hot minute since I've done one of these here types of streams. So let's see. I wanted to do something a little bit more up-tempo for the background track this time, kind of like a more EDM-ish type of track. So I'm going to try and set up a slightly faster rhythm, and I'm going to do this using a method I'm still practicing and getting better at with the loop station, and that's creating things sort of in layers rather than doing a rhythm all at once. And so what that means is if I set up my kick first and just do something like this is going to set kind of the tempo, and I'm going to try and build the rhythm for whatever it is we end up going with on the track here, piece by piece, rather than doing the rhythm all at once and just looping the whole rhythm section. It's just a different way to construct beats using the loop, and I'd like to practice the other version so I can get better at both. So we could try an offset hi-hat on the same track as the kick right now. And I'm going to keep the fader about here. as I'm working on this, let me know if it's too loud and you can't hear me talking. Once I have the track completed, I'm gonna try and drop it as low as I can to keep it in the background. In fact, maybe I can try and record the kick a little bit softer. I was right up on the mic on that one. Let's try back here. Let's see. That's a little bit better. Now I want to try putting a snare on another track, and let's add a little reverb to this one. Hey, Iconic Boar is here. What's up, Iconic Boar? Welcome to the drawing stream. We are setting up the BGM to use for this leg of the stream before we get started with the drawing stuff. So let's see, you can put a little bit of reverb, about 50%. And I want to put a kind of sharper outward K snare on this one. Kind of like a... I'm going to go lower on the reverb. This. Iconic Boar says, nice, hope you're well, friendo. Yeah, I'm doing alright. I'm hoping to get some work done today. I've got some things I want to get and I ironed out for upcoming streams, and setting some time aside to do some of that work here and give you guys a chance to look at some of the stuff I'm working on behind the scenes is kind of why I did a drawing stream today. I wonder if we can try doubling up on the snare. I have an outwards K. I wonder if I add an inwards under it, so it's like a double snare. Okay, I've got some latitude to drop the volume down. Once I finish putting the track together, I'm going to lower it so it'll be easier for you guys to hear me. Now we need a bass line to go with the basic rhythm. I think I'll probably stop it at a bass line for now. The point is not to spend a whole lot of time creating some background noise to use here. So let's see. I do want to do guitar to bass, but rather than sustain notes like I usually do, I want to do something that's a little bit more bouncy. So let's see. I'm going to turn guitar to bass on, and if I need to say anything important, I'll turn it off so you guys can hear me. Alright, I think that'll be functional. I'm surprised I was able to do that on the first try. Okay, if I leave the BGM where it is right now and I just talk normally, are you folks able to hear me okay? The audio readout in OBS is got me kind of peaking right at the top of the green range. So let me know if the music is still too loud and I need to drop it. All right, Iconic Boar says sounds good to me. Okay, great. If anybody else has feedback for where to put the sound as we proceed, just let me know. Okay. For today's stream, as the title suggests, the point of the work session today is to get cracking on some stream assets that I'd like to use for upcoming parts of streaming stuff here on Twitch. And the first thing that I wanted to work on that I hinted at a couple streams ago when we first started getting up and running here is emotes. The immediate goal in the short term, since starting up here on Twitch, is to hit affiliate level so that I can start implementing some community things that you folks tuning in can use and kind of play around with. And as a result, when it was the Dead PC arc, I did a lot of drawing and I did sketch out some ideas for emotes. So today I'm going to be working on actually drawing those out and getting them into a finalized state so that they're ready to be converted over when hopefully I eventually hit that mark and I can actually activate them for you guys. And so you guys are going to get a sneak peek at what that's going to look like. It probably won't be an all-encompassing list. The plan is to look at the ones that I've got, try and get some finalized inked and colored versions here, and then depending on how long that takes, we'll see if we can brainstorm some ideas for other ones or move on to something else. But this is the main focus of what I'm working on today, because if I don't set aside time to do this, I'll just get behind. Iconic Boar says, I believe in you, Raku. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It has definitely been interesting so far here on Twitch. I'm not trying to claim that things are just popping off like crazy, but the amount of you folks that have showed up to just hang out and be supportive has been fantastic. And I definitely appreciate it. So let's see. I'm going to put up the scan that I've got so you guys can see it. It's kind of a high contrast scan because I use a really lightweight mechanical pencil, a light lead. And so these are really dark when I scan them in, and I had to flip the contrast a bit just so they would show up. And so what I'd like to do is sketch out a base layer and sort of a base headshot that I can use for the different perspectives, and it's gonna be based on these. And then I'll kind of apply that to each of the ones we draw going forward. Because I just freehand sketch these without any sort of standard model, just as I had ideas. I would like it to be consistent. So let's see, put the ear about here. Head goes up about this. Wazzy says, I like number 6. 5 is not bad. Iconic Boar says, happy I can be here. You are so cool, dude. Oh, thanks, man. I did show these to Wazzy earlier, so she's seen them already. The biggest mood for me is number 2, right here. And I think I can kind of clean that up a little bit. Part of the problem for these is that since I drew them all separately, things like the hair is not consistent. So if I create a standard model, I can do things like make sure the hair is the same and just change expressions. That's why I wanted to do this digitally. Starlat says, I'm going to lurk now. Yeah, no worries. This is going to be kind of more of a laid back session today. as people come and go, if they have questions on what I'm working on, we can stop and talk about it. But mostly this is a chance to give you guys a look into some of the stuff I'm working on and ask questions or whatnot. So feel free to just kind of chill. Alright, so we put the eyes about here. We'll call this primary. We do it like this. Let's see, Wazzy says, tell us another fun work story while you draw. Like about the girl who actively hated you. Yeah, we could do some story time stuff. I don't mind. What I'm going to do now on this other layer is I'm going to sketch out sort of the parts of the emote that are not going to change. Things like the headphones, the general shape of the face, and the hair. In general, that stuff's not going to change. It'll be the expression that the emote is making. And so I'm just going to sketch the details for that out here. That way I can do sort of like an inked layer after that, and I won't have to redraw it every time. Alright, you guys want to hear that story? Story of a coworker of mine who actively hated me, and I forgot to even mention that, so I guess you got a good memory, Wazzy. So to give some context to the story, and I'm just gonna kind of keep drawing here while I tell this, since I don't really need to be actively thinking about it. This story occurred during the Earth Job saga, so the current arc that we're in now, my quote-unquote 9-to-5 Earth job, is where this happened, but it was a long time ago. It was probably about 13 years ago. I've been at my job for a hot minute. But this was back when I was new at my job, and I won't go into specifics of what my job is, since that would be a little bit private information. But all you guys need to know is that I work an office job. But I'm not making silly VTuber content. And I was brand new at the time, and I was hired in a group of 6 interns. And the group of 6 interns, who I may have talked about, I don't think I've talked about that group really on stream at all. It's not been super relevant. But all you guys really need to know is that the group of people that were hired in the same group as me all came from different backgrounds. Some were fresh out of college, some were people who went to college later in life and were looking to start up a different career path and all that stuff. And keep in mind that I was coming from the kitchen arc, so definitely not an office environment, but that's not really relevant. Of the 6 people in my initial group, there was 5 dudes, including me, and 1 lady who was a college age recent grad. I forget how old she was, but again, not relevant. And we were all hired at the same time, so we were always lumped together for training and all sorts of stuff as we were trying to learn how to do our job. And this particular girl, we'll call her Tina. Tina had a bit of an attitude, and I don't really know the background on it, and it ultimately didn't matter, but she really had kind of the whole I'm a princess attitude, which can be something that people find off-putting in a way, because it's not so much a bit, so much as kind of a sense of entitlement. And you realize after talking to said person for a while that it's not just a bit or a character, kind of just an entitled person. And so our group of 6 was split into 2 groups of 3 because we were hired at different times within the same, couple months. A group of 3 before me and my group of 3 after. And Tina was part of the group before me, but again, same hiring cycle. We were all lumped together. So we always had training together, our groups of 6 and whatnot. And the other 2 in her group, who were about her age, maybe a little bit older, they kind of just ignored her attitude and didn't really, encourage it or discourage it or whatever. They just kind of ignored it. And whenever we interacted with them, I guess this is sort of getting to why she actively hated me, I suppose. I was the only one who kind of checked her because I really felt like it wasn't productive to have someone being kind of like the bossy, entitled one of the group when we're all trying to work actively together for whatever it is we're doing at our job. And I don't know what happened or what I said specifically, but something along the way that I said or did caused this person to actively just loathe my very existence. And I never really did figure out what it was, but it started creating some tension between our groups because this person wouldn't allow her peers in her group of 3 to interact with the people in my group of 3 because she hated me. Which was really awkward for the other 2 dudes in my group because they didn't initially know why they were being sort of just ignored and ostracized among our group when, we're all in the same pool of newbies. And eventually we all kind of figured it out. Like, oh, Tina doesn't like us because of something you did to me. I was like, all right. But again, I'm the type of person who doesn't like to put up with nonsense. Usually I'll ignore it, but when it actively affects my job, I don't know. I just feel like people need to be checked sometimes. And maybe it's some of the kitchen attitude of not putting up with BS because it keeps the ship from running effectively. But again, I had to sort of learn a bit more of tact and diplomacy coming from a kitchen to an office environment. So I was still kind of readjusting to that too. So the end result was kind of awkward interactions between our groups because that person hated me. And the noteworthy thing about the story is this continued for maybe half a year. And it was just kind of weird. It never really affected our work or got us into trouble per se. But at some point, I had to take a work trip with Tina. They grouped us new hires into pairs and they sent us across the country for kind of like an orientation thing at our organization's central office. Kind of like a thing where they send all new employees to sort of meet other new employees and do the whole networking thing and whatnot. And so they sent Tina and I in the same group because that was just the way the planning worked out. And I thought, well, this is going to be pretty much the make or break of whether or not I'm going to be able to coexist with this person because we're going to be in relatively close proximity for a week. It was like a week-long trip. And so we did that. I won't give the specifics of where we went, but it was across the country from where I live. And things were fine for the first half of the week. We mostly just didn't really interact that much. We did some stuff and it was pretty civil, but not like we went out of our way to really interact. And then towards the end of the trip, kind of the thing that was the biggest in the whole saga we're talking about here, we went out to dinner with one of my other coworkers who was a manager on one of the teams, not someone we immediately worked with, but was in the area that we were sent to coincidentally for something else. And so he invited both of us out to dinner, Tina and myself, just to sort of hang out and kind of talk about stuff and kind of chill after going through a week's worth of training and all the other crap that we did on the event. And I won't go into specifics because it's really not relevant, but there was a moment in that dinner where we were all kind of talking about stuff just about ourselves, because this particular coworker just wanted to get to know us better, was asking us some questions about, where we came from and our background. And I don't really have anything significant to my background, so I was just answering the questions. And then at one point he asked a question that Tina didn't want to answer, and kind of without any warning, we're just kind of talking, and then our other coworker asked a question, and she just kind of ignored him. Well, there's only 3 of us in the conversation. And so after a minute or so of awkward silence, I just kind of said, hey, are you going to answer his question, or are we going to just kind of look at each other? And she kind of flipped out on me. She didn't start yelling, but she got really mad and said, essentially to me, she said, Rako, you have no right to ask me personal information. Don't talk to me, in front of our other coworker who had asked the question. It wasn't me. And it kind of awkward record scratch style put a screeching halt to the entire dinner, and it was super awkward for the rest of it. That was towards the end of the trip, and when we got back to the office, the dynamics between our different teams was like irreparably destroyed as a result of, I think, that incident and the trip overall. And so we got back and went to our respective groups and whatnot, and then it was very apparent that it was even worse for my other 2 associates in my group, because immediately the other 3 in Tina's group went to another planet essentially, and then we didn't interact with them at all. And so my friends in my group said, hey, what happened on the trip, because things are kind of weird now since you guys got back. I was like, it was a little bit uncomfortable. And I told them the story of what happened. I was like, here, straight up, this is what happened on the end of the trip. And they're like, huh, that's really weird. It wasn't catastrophic. We didn't cause a public scene, but it was so awkward in front of one of our other coworkers. And then this particular coworker, Tina, never talked to me directly ever again after that too, which is really awkward because we had to do training and stuff between the 6 of us. It says, wow, way to be a dick, Raku. Probably in regards to what I was talking about earlier about check-in people. Iconic Bar says, oh my. Waldy says, did anything else happen on the trip? No. That dinner incident was the last thing before we all flew back. And so things were just kind of weird and uncomfortable between the 2 groups for a bit. Never really affected our work, but it was, again, weird. And then the summer after that happened, probably towards the end of that first year, getting close to the second year, Tina got fired. And it happened while I was on vacation. I was out of town and just taking a break from work and whatnot over the summer. And I get a text from one of the dudes on my team. And he goes, hey, you're going to hear about this when you get back, but just so you know, Tina got fired. And I was like, what? And that's pretty uncommon in our particular line of work, but part of the new hire program we were in was kind of akin to internships. It's not really private information to say that. And the point of the program was to get people into our sector that were either coming from a different background or out of college or whatnot, or some combination, and give them a trial run in the organization. And if at any point in 2 years after being hired, if the organization feels you're not a fit for whatever reason, and that's the key thing there, for whatever reason, they can just fire you. They can't make up a reason, but it's a conditional state of employment, unlike other ones where it's a guaranteed state of employment. So you're not really temporary, but you're in a state like a probationary state. It's a better way to describe it. And if you do anything that the organization just doesn't like or doesn't feel fits, they can terminate you, as opposed to a full-time regular status employee, which has to go through all the HR paperwork and whatnot in order to be actively fired. So I get back and get readjusted and everything, and Tina's gone, right? And I talked to my coworkers, and I was like, hey, so what happened while I was gone? Why did Tina get fired? And the dudes on my team are like, we don't know. We came in one day and management just told us, because they told the entire group of interns, as it were, Yeah, Tina doesn't work here anymore. Her that's why her desk is empty. No explanation. And that's really weird. Again, not super common to happen, but because of our program, it was very possible. Edward confirms all my homies hate Tina. And so we kind of didn't hear anything about this for a bit. And it was just kind of weird. We're like, that's kind of, we're all on edge. We're like, did any of us do something that's going to get us axed? And a little bit of time went by. And because of the gossip chain, as it is in any sort of work environment, we eventually did find out what happened that resulted in the termination of Tina. And it was kind of interesting. So to get into specifics, one of the things that my job offered for folks that were living far away or decent commute distance from our location was a transit subsidy. And for folks who might not know what that is, it's basically subsidized or paid for things by our organization for public transportation or a way to get to work for folks that live a decent distance. So things like bus, train, public transport, or group transportation like a van pool, and rather than pay out of pocket as one of the benefits, the organization pays for it. Wazzy confirms that people in HR love to gossip. Well, one thing I'm sure will come up repeatedly when I talk about the Earth job is there are some folks that really are really gossipy in my organization. So you have to be kind of careful what information you let out, lest everybody find out through the said gossip chain. So I'm usually pretty guarded about what I talk about because I know if certain people get wind of it, it's not going to stay private. But anyway, back to the idea of transportation subsidies. Apparently what was communicated from somebody, maybe HR, maybe management, whatever. The story was that Tina was getting transit subsidies for taking, I believe it was the train from the downtown area to the more remote location where our office is located. And what was told to us was that it was discovered that she was hoarding the transit subsidy amounts and not spending them just to kind of sit on the money and potentially get reimbursed or use it for something outside of what was intended, which you can't do. That is against policy. It's essentially like kind of funneling money that you don't own for something else. And so that was what they told us, that she was basically hoarding transportation money and she was going to use it for something else. And they found out about it and they axed her. And I'd never heard of anybody doing that. It was kind of a surprise. We're thinking, wow, why would someone do that when they're essentially on probation? Because, again, they don't need a reason. You could fart at a meeting and tick off a manager, and they could say, this person is not a fit for the organization, and they could fire you for that. So to do something a bit more egregious and potentially illegal, why would you even risk it when you're on probation? And so we said, okay, that sucks, but it makes sense. What we found out a little bit later, this is after this whole thing blew over, and I am getting to the main point of why I'm telling this story, but we found out later that that was sort of not an official reason for why they let Tina go. I think there was something weird with the transit stuff, but it was never proven that she was essentially stealing money from the organization or whatnot. Instead, it turns out her really bad attitude had gotten to enough ears and enough people in our organization for there to be complaints, essentially. And she wasn't a big fan of what we were doing, mostly because she didn't like it, and I think she was planning on trying to move up into something else. But the fact that she kind of was public about how much she didn't like her work and the bad attitude was on full display, enough people saw that the organization felt, yeah, this person doesn't really belong here, but they used something related to this whole transit subsidy thing as a main reason for firing her, which I don't know how legit that is, but the reality is they didn't need a reason. But they had enough of one sort of on the record between the conduct and the potential thing with money related stuff that it didn't matter. So she was gone for that. And so the whole point of the story when I'm telling it is later, when we kind of learned all that and we're like, oh, all right, that's kind of weird, but you make your own bed essentially. After Tina was gone, the rest of us 5 that were remaining started hanging out together and doing stuff again because the main obstacle for that was gone. And so we were sitting down for lunch one day, the 5 of us, and just talking about whatever, and it was bugging me, so I asked the other 2 from that group, I said, hey, just so you know, did she ever say why she hated me so much, or what was the problem? Because, when she was around, we couldn't interact with you guys at all. We never saw you, couldn't talk to you, nothing. And it was really weird. And one of the guys said, she never specifically said why, but she absolutely hated you. And she hated you from like the first week we started working together. And when you guys got back from your orientation trip, it was even worse. But she never said why. But she absolutely hated you and didn't want us to associate with her group as a result of her hating you specifically. And so, to this day, I never found out what I did or said. And it was really weird, and it sucks that my coworkers had to kind of suffer because of something I did. We never learned what it was. But apparently this person who got fired had such a visceral hatred of me that anything and anyone associated with me had to be exiled and banished to the far reaches of the planet. Well, as he says, I was admin, so I had a bunch of back-end work when someone was fired at my old job. So when HR came to my desk with paperwork, I would hear all the gossip. Ah, that makes sense. So you would kind of indirectly hear all the dirt. Wazzy says you had too much BDE. What does BDE stand for? Basic Dutch emotions. Oh, that's not what I thought. Yeah, I highly doubt it was that particularly. I know you're joking around, Wazzy, but I really try and be a non-presence at my job. I'm just there to get stuff done and not make other people's lives more difficult. Probably not a surprise, given I tend to be kind of a mellow, chill person here on stream. But the reality is I don't like to make waves because drama is unappealing to me, especially when I have to be around it for work. But it was weird. It was definitely the weirdest social interaction at a job I've ever had over the course of, a year. And I never learned what I did wrong, so I just try and not be a jerk to people. But you gotta play the game sometimes. I guess the other moral of the story for folks listening and watching is be careful of what you communicate, either directly or indirectly to the people around you, because people are always watching. And I'm not saying it's going to happen every time, but there are folks out there that will look for an opportunity to backstab people, especially if they feel like it's going to benefit them. So rather than give them ammo, just kind of be careful in how you conduct yourself and not give them a reason to want to out you for anything. Well, he says one guy got fired for destroying a company-paid hotel room. Yeah, that's no good. You're gonna do something that the organization has to pay for or incur expenses. Yeah. In some industries, that'll be enough to get you canned. Okay. Looking at what we've got here, what I want to do is create a sort of template for the emotes. Iconic Boar says, yeah, the world can be rough. I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to, no matter where you work, Whether you're digging ditches or you're working for an executive class business, you're making millions a year. The takeaway is just be professional. Be professional and be respectful to the people around you. You do those two things, you'll run into very few issues in your career, whatever it is, wherever you're working. That's probably not news to anybody here. Obviously, you also always have to deal with things like politics. But I feel like your potential for shenanigans is considerably less if you just don't give people a reason to want to go after you. Wise says, don't be a dick. That's right. The golden rule of Will Wheaton. You follow that, and it'll mitigate a lot of your problems. Okay. I'm going to need to find one of the other pieces of art that I've done so I can get proper colors sampled for these emotes. I guess we can just use this. Here's my model. You guys have seen it before. This is the reference sheet for my model when I was getting it commissioned. We're just going to do flat colors for the emote itself. Don't have to worry about shading. This will be scaled down to such a small resolution you won't even be able to see it anyway. Try and touch up some of the lines here. Again, this is going to be such a small resolution for Twitch. I don't think it's going to be too big a deal. Hey, grab that. Why does this flats work better for emotes? Yeah, that makes sense. Again, it's such a small resolution in chat. Going through complex shading and all the other stuff is really not gonna matter. I'm not too worried about it. Now, animated emotes, maybe Wazzy can answer this since I know she's done them for her channel. Do you just convert your emotes to a GIF and then upload those for the animated thing, or do they require a specific format on Twitch? That's one thing I was wondering. I'll need to grab colors for headphones. Basically white, kind of off-white color. You know, shade it down a little bit so it's not just straight white. Well, it says you can upload your own, or they can do generic ones of your already made emotes, like spins or color changes. So does it let you upload a GIF? If you make a GIF of your animated emote doing whatever, will they just let that pass? Okay, that's what I thought. Thanks. Okay, Wazzy says all mine are GIF. Alright, that's good to know. If that's the case, then I can probably do animated versions of these without much issue. I'll just need to basically draw a couple different frames and then merge them all together into a GIF, and then that'll be the emote. Walsey says, we tested with Ramen's 45 FPS is probably highest before Twitch hates you, but it'll depend on how long before loop. Oh, okay. I will have to figure that out once I'm able to actually upload stuff. That's good to know. Walsey says, I think we broke it at 16 frames at 45 FPS. I can't imagine the ones that I do will be more than a few frames anyway. Maybe 10 at the most, depending on what the animation is. I wouldn't mind having the eyes bulging out one be relatively well animated, but I'm also not too concerned with making it really complicated. That's not really the point. Walsey says, most of mine are at 16 FPS. You can get away with more movement. Okay. Yeah, I may need to pick your brain for how you set that all together, because I'm assuming you animated yours in Flash. Because I am sort of a caveman when it comes to animation, I'll probably just draw the frames. Okay, the finger guns Walsey emote is 38 frames at 16 FPS. Okay. Once again, good to know. I may have to look at that more closely once the actual affiliate line is imminent. For now, it's not too much of an issue. But I did want to get a jump on drawing these. One, to get kind of a template set up. Then, and also to not have to worry about it at the last minute when, again, it's imminent. We'll just do this same color for the antenna. Walsey says, if you can make a GIF, Twitch will take it. Iconobor says, the art's looking great. Raku. Oh, thanks, man. It's really simple. It's not going to be anything complicated. I care more about messing around with the expressions when we get there. What we see here, is a basic template that I'm going to use for all the different emotes, which is at the 3/4 perspective that we see here. And that way I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Walsey says, do you have any of the goals met yet? I haven't checked recently. I wonder if I can check goals without changing screens. Oh, this is setting goals on the actual stream. Let's see. I may have met the concurrent chatting one. Well, let me see if I can find it. It tells you how closely I'm paying attention to this stuff. Let's see, where is it listed? Where's the goal thing listed on the dashboard? Analytics, summary, achievements. Path to affiliate. I have, according to this, met the requirement for average number of viewers. Average is 3, and so I've exceeded that. I stream on 7 different days. I've got 5 of 7. I wonder if that means unique days during the week. I think over time I'll get that no matter what, since my schedule kind of changes every single week. Stream for 11 hours. That's done. Or stream for 8 hours, rather. I've streamed for 11 just in the few streams I've done. And followers, according to this, 18 of 50. And you must meet all the same requirements in the same 30-day period. So as long as I'm consistent and get consistent viewership and whatnot, then the big hurdle is going to be getting followers, I think. So yeah, it'll be kind of a long-term deal. I could probably push things more aggressively, but honestly, I just want to do streams and work on content. If I push too much for just the affiliate stuff, then it's gonna seem pretty transparent. That's what I care about the most. And in reality, I'd rather just work on creating stuff. All right. Let's set this as template. I want to figure out what I'm going to do with eyes. Iconic Boar says, you got this, Raku. Even I got the goals for affiliate somehow. Though I ain't one as it said it needed tax info and I know nothing. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got to figure out the whole financial side of that process later. But yeah, it's a grind. I'm fully aware that it's a grind. And if it takes a year or 2 years, happen when it happens. I just feel like being able to get to the more community focused parts of streaming is much more feasible in the short term here on Twitch versus YouTube, which is what I said in the announcement video. All right, let's see if we can figure out a good way to do eyes. I was thinking of doing just sort of shaded circles, since again, it doesn't need to be highly detailed. So let's see. Maybe we can do something like this. A little more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can create a really simple shaded, perfectly circular eyeball and then kind of resize it to the template and we'll see if it'll work. Yeah, I'm going to put this. I'll try and keep my folders organized. Let's do flat color and just maybe a highlight layer. Let's see if I can get that to work. Iconic Boar says, I have a bot that shouts out peeps I like you and Wazi when they stream, so hopefully that'll get you some follows. Oh, in my Discord. Ah, I see. Well, that's good. Thanks for doing that. Let's see, we'll do something like this. Discord is something else I have to think about, since you reminded me. I would like to set up a community Discord at some point, but it is a little bit lower priority on my list just because it's going to require a bit more work. And I don't know if I really have the bandwidth to admin a Discord server at the moment. Well, this says, yeah, Iconic is rad. Iconic says, no problem. I do my best to be the best supporter I can be. Oh yeah, it's much appreciated, man. Again, it's never the expectation that people have to promote anything when it comes to the stuff I work on. It's always appreciated when you do, but never feel like you have to or you're required to do anything like that for my stuff. Wazzy says, just use mine for now, like 70% of the same base. Yeah, that could work too. I don't know if you let other people announce stuff on your Discord server, but again, I'm not terribly concerned with it at the moment. Let's do this. Copy this over. It's such an annoyance having my keyboard so far away. Iconic says, thank you, Wazzy. I don't have to, I want to, of course. Yeah, I get it, but again, like Wazzy is saying, it's much appreciated. Okay. So the base template looks like this. I probably won't use these sort of template eyes too much, but there's a couple, if you look at the scan, that I'm going to need to use them on. Probably for the mic drop one, which when I think of potential candidates for animating, this one might be a good one. Why isn't my thing showing up? Let's see, did I enable grayscale by accident? Weird. But anyway, yeah, the mic drop one might be a good candidate for an animated one. Yeah, looks like I turned on grayscale by accident. I didn't even know you could do that in this program. I gotta figure out how to turn it off. Wazzy says, remember you got a small square to work with. Maybe just microphone for the drop one. Oh. You think there's not enough room for the hand? Oh, transparency. Maybe that's why. Okay, let's try and do the first one. Keep that kind of down here. I won't need the primary. Base template. I'll create a new one of these. We're going to call this 1. And for this one, I want to do the hard eyes one. We're going to go in order here. So for that one, create a new folder. Should probably be doing my line layers in vector. Maybe it won't matter too much for this. I'm gonna have to render these at flat pings anyway in order to rescale them, I think. Maybe that won't matter. Let's see. We'll do this. We'll do this one as vector because I'm gonna need to resize it. Now I get to draw hearts. Now that should do. Now I think I'll most likely just need to size that up. Yeah. I'll scale it up. Maybe I'll rotate it too. Like so. Wazzy says, okay, gotta bounce. Have a good stream. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Wazzy. I appreciate you giving me some pointers on this stuff. I'll most likely bug you later. But have a good evening, and I will catch you next time. Okay, I think that'll work for this. Just need to add a smile line on here. Iconic Vor says, take care, Wazzy. Thanks for your kind words. Alright. What would be a good visible smile for this one? maybe something not so big. I think that'll work. Let's zoom out and take a look. Maybe not zoom out that far. I think number one will be functional. Pretty simple. And again, setting up the base template's gonna make it so I don't have to redraw and recreate everything every time. So now we can move on to number 2. Save what I'm doing. I need to create a save, reminder, redeem when I eventually get points. Just like Wazzy's done on her work streams. It's something I chronically forget to do. I'll need to enable that so people can yell at me to save every once in a while and I don't lose my work. Okay, we're gonna do the bulging eyes one, which is my favorite so far. And for this one's gonna be a little more tricky because I'm going to mess with the layering. In fact, what I can do is create the eyes on a new layer and make sure it lines up before I commit to merging it with the main line layer. That'll work. I just need to shore up the lines and clean it up here. And I guess we will delete out the stuff that's essentially behind. Or I could leave it on top. Maybe I'll leave it on top. Problem is it's going to obscure the stuff that's right here. Maybe I'll just delete it out. What matters is that you see the eyes. It doesn't necessarily matter if the hair's there. In fact, it's going to be at such a low resolution you probably won't be able to tell anyway. Do it like that, and then I'm going to merge this down. Hey, Mr. Dirtbones is here. Mr. Dirtbones says, "Help, I think my left leg shattered." Well, that's no good. I guess this particular emote would be an appropriate reaction if that's what happened. If so, you better get yourself to a doctor. Mr. Dirtbones says, "Character thing, I'm all bones." Now, are the bones made of dirt, or are they just found in the dirt? I guess that would be a good clarification. Iconic Boar says, "Oh geez." We'll add some little veins here and there. Remember to turn my phone off. All right. I think the edits to this one are gonna be relatively simple. I will just need to delete out. Let's see. I'll fill it instead. Fill the eyes in here. We get clarification. Mr. Dirtbone says, "They're found in the dirt, and if it's clean, dirt grows on the bone, much like copper. It gets too much oxygen." I see. I do appreciate you filling me in on the lore. So the question is, if your left leg shatters, how do you repair it? Alright, that might be it for this one. And all I have to do is edit the eyes. I don't know, something about that second one's a mood. Mr. Dirtbone says, I have to find a new one, and lately it's been getting scarce." Well, hopefully you don't have to go and rob graves. That's illegal. Alright, let's see. You could try and do the mic drop one next. This one, I guess we'll have to see once we get there about the size limitation and potentially having to take the hand out. I think what I'll do is move the hand up. That way the mic can be a little bit closer. The whole point of this one is that you can visibly see the mic being dropped. So let's see. First we'll put the lines in for the hand. We could do something like this. And I'll draw a real crude mic here. Again, doesn't need to be too detailed. This will all be at low resolution anyway. Let's see, Mr. Dirtbone says, the dirt part for me is a curse. It's how I died. Too much dirt in my body and exploded. Only the head can't be broken. It's made of freaking platinum. I see. So does that make you undead? Are you like a type of skeleton, or like an animated person that just has dirt bones? That'd be the question of the day. Ah, I see. So like an undead skeleton. That makes sense. Get some colors on this mic, and then I'll work on the facial expressions. Yeah, Mr. Dirtbone says, a skeleton, rattle me bones, but not too hard, otherwise they'll break, and you have to get new ones. Okay, for the actual expression, this one has a winky face. Tongue sticking out. Ah, Mr. Dirtbone says, they aren't fragile. I fell off a building getting here. I see. Well, you'll want to be careful. Fall off a building and suffer too much damage, that would be no good. Alright. Here's number 3. Well, you're making progress. Let me take a minute to check out the BGM. Maybe I can switch it up since we've been listening to it for about an hour and a half. could try and throw a repeat on here. And maybe we do this. Keep the bass line the way it is and try and switch up the rhythm. You can try shift too. It doesn't have to be beat repeat. Or scatter. Bruh. That's not bad. I think I like that with beat scatter. Leave it there. And that's a reverse effect on the bass line, so now the melody's flipped around. We'll leave it there for now. All right, where are we at? Kind of want to do a couple more of the 3/4 ones since I've got a template here. Maybe we could try a new one. We'll duplicate this. We'll call it 4. I kind of want to do an unimpressed expression. Let's try that next before we move on. Maybe I'll do like 8 of them, and then we'll have things to choose from later once I'm actually looking at rolling these out. Mr. Dirtbone says, why am I on another building? That's a good question. Watch out for those buildings, especially if you have no control over how you're getting there. Let's see if I can do like a half-lidded thing. This is what I was thinking, and I just need to fix the boundary of the line. Mr. Dirtburns yells out, Jimmy. Somebody save this man. Mr. Dirtburns says, gosh darn it, I'm only a skull now. What is this grass made of? Steel? Sounds like Mr. Dirtbones is having a rough day. Let's do this. I'm going to move the highlight down. Here. Let's see, why is it not letting me put that there? Hmm. Why is it doing that? Oh, that's why I'm not on the highlight layer. Duh. Alright. Alright, we're good. Now, an appropriate expression for look of unamusement. I'm gonna be too low. There we go. I feel like that's a bit of a mood. Alright, let's put you down here. Think of a couple other expressions to use the 3/4 here before we move on to the other set. But before we do that, I'm going to go refill my water bottle real quick. Rather than have you guys staring at a static screen, I'm going to flip over to the loading screen real quick and I'll be back in just a minute. So I'm going to cut the BGM, flip the loading screen, and I will be back momentarily. All right. Sorry about that. We are good to go. Just making sure the BGM levels are still consistent. All right, let's move on. Let me think of another good expression to use. I think what I'm planning on doing for these emotes, once I am able to actually use them, maybe I will put a poll on Twitter and people can vote on the top 4 or something that they like. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do it yet, since I think affiliate unlock, from what Wazzy told me, is 4 total emotes, and then you unlock more as you proceed. So that'll be something to keep in mind. Oh, I know a good one. I'm going to change the eye expression on this one. Iconic Boris says, I gotta go. Thanks for the chill time, Raku. Best of luck with everything. Hey man, thanks for tuning in and hanging out. I always appreciate you stopping by. So hopefully you have yourself a good evening or respective whatever time zone you're in. And I will catch you later. Take it easy. This is the expression I'm thinking of. I just might need to tweak it a little bit so that it's symmetrical. I don't know what you call this particular emotion right here. Pain. Maybe if somebody says or does something that physically hurts me, it'd be a good emote to use. Alright, we'll throw another one on here. Maybe I'll just try and do 8. Experiment with 8 expressions for 3/4. And then, depending on how much time we have, maybe I will do the head-on versions. Do a grinning one that's sort of a continuation of the heart eyes one. Oh, that's terrible looking. I got an idea for another expression too. Let's do this one first. Very unsettling grin. Where we at? Call this one 7. Going for an ooh face here. Need to make sure it's centered. Could try and size the eyes up. I wonder what that would look like. Let's try it. Maybe not that big. No, the different size eye is actually kind of an interesting variation on the expression. You could do something like this. And put blush marks. I realized on this one, on the sketch I had the, what would you call them, shadow marks. Maybe I'll put that on a separate layer in case I decide I don't want to keep it. I'll put it up here. All right. Now let's see if we can get one more. Go for 8 total and then look at switching perspectives. I would like to at least get the template for the head-on perspective emotes done on the stream, and then we'll see how much time we've got left. Call this one number 8. We could do swirly eyes. Not done that yet. some lines. Something like this. His tongue sticking out. All right, let's take a look at the set that we've got here. Let's see. Pretty decent spread of potential expressions for the emotes. Think of the ones I've got here. Still like number 2. Number 4 is a pretty good mood too. And as unsettling it is the ooh as it is, the ooh face one isn't bad either. What I may do in the future, I don't think I'll devote multiple streams to doing stream assets. Maybe I will if I feel like I got a lot to do. But if I decide to make some more in my free time, maybe I will. And I could put up something like a master sheet for everybody to see when it comes time to actually potentially vote on this stuff. I'm sure other ideas will come to me. But for the last leg, I want to get the template set up for the head-on ones. Just like we did here with the base template, I want to set one up for head-on, and then that'll be another set of potential things for people to look at and choose from. The initial set of 4 at launch will probably be a mix. I think it'd be more amusing to have kind of a spread instead of just one format type of emote. All right, put that up there. Now I need to sketch out a primary layer and then the base template layer just like we did above. So we can hide this for now, give myself some room. Sketch here. something like that. And then from here, I'm going to sketch out a primary for the actual base template. And so that'll be something like this. Put the headphones here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this entire section, I'm going to mirror it just so I can save myself some time. Do it like this. Merge that down. And put the hair going down, kind of like this. It'll be mostly obscured from the front view here. We do want it to be visible. Now let's see for the bangs. We'll keep it in line with what we've done so far on the 3/4. Maybe something like that. And now I can ink this. I'm not gonna bother. Well, maybe I can flip the line art. That way it's 100% symmetrical. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that and keep it clean. I'll make sure we're being kind of consistent with the stroke weight as a line art on the 3/4 ones, just for the sake of consistency. All right, we should be able to just duplicate this and mirror it. Now we just need to add the hair. I'm just kind of eyeballing the edges of the hair here. It doesn't have to be exact. If it's close, that's good enough. Yeah, that should be fine. Now add the hair. Or bangs. And now we just clean up the lines. We can start filling stuff down. We'll do the same color assignment and levels as the 3/4. All that stuff will be consistent. There, should do it. Now I just have to fill everything down. Skin tones. Headphone color will be the same. Headphones. Yeah, put that there. I'll do a kind of a rough fill here. We'll have the other layer active. And then I'll clean it up in a sec. Yep, that'll work. Now I just have to clean up the fill sections, and that should be it for the base template on the front-facing emotes. we go. Just a couple more sections to touch up. And then I'll probably copy the eyes down. And you can see where we set them roughly for the sample template on the head-on view here. We'll do it like this. We'll duplicate that. Bring it up. Oh, wrong one. If I need to use the hard eye, I can copy it in here, but I wanted the regular ones. So this one. There we go. Maybe because this one seems like it's scaled a little bit higher, we can increase the size of the eyes a little bit. Let me duplicate this. And just move it in line. About there. And now we got our template. And I think that'll work for the head-on version of the emotes. If we take a look at the sketch one, or scan here, the first one I had here was the grabbing the heart one. I think that'd be pretty easy to do. Maybe we can do that one here, and then we'll start wrapping up for the stream today. Keeping in mind what Wazzy said about the limitations on dimensions, I think I'm going to try and collapse this one down a little bit so it's not quite as tall first. Could just copy the heart eyes one and not have to redraw this whole thing. In fact, I'm going to do that because I'm lazy. That. I realize that the line borders are too thick, but I can fix that pretty easily. All I have to do is select the line art. Should be able to delete out the intersections. Why did it do that? Huh. Oh, because it's vector? Wonder if that's why. That could be why. If it was raster, then I'd be able to just delete it out straight away, but it's not. It's vector. Okay, that's not gonna work. I'll have to draw it from scratch. That's fine. I was hoping to save some time there, but it's alright. Alright, now I just need to move this into place. And I could, rather than make it part of the layers below. Let's try this. Make it an object all the way above, then I'll have to deal with editing out layers underneath. Put some shading on the heart. Now we can drop all this stuff into its own folder and move it around freely. Alright, move you down here. there we go. Okay, now we can put it in place. I'm just trying to make the actual eyes here the same kind of thickness. Okay. Now the way we had it on the sketch, have the hands kind of grabbing the sides of the heart. So what I can do is create a new layer. And just draw the hands and then I'll mirror this too. All right, now I got hands. I may have to shrink this one and kind of squish it into the dimensions for the actual emote, but I think that'll be fine for this one. If anything, I can take the whole thing and sort of make it less tall. If I want to just shrink it down by maybe 25%, if I need the room, I can do that. Alright, I think what I'll do is I will move the template over and create another copy. And then when I work on this next, be it on stream or not, then I'll have a base template to work off of and continue down the line. I think this one right here, number 5 on the original scan list, I think I can improve that one a little bit, maybe make the bandages a little less wonky. But I could think of some good ideas for some other expressions too that'll be different from the ones in the first set. So before we completely wrap up, let me move my tablet back a little bit. Look at what we did in today's session. Well, these two are the head-on emotes. Got one going here, and then a template for another one, and then 3/4 one. We did 8 of them. I will think of some other ones potentially to add to the list, and we'll have a lot to choose from when we eventually get there. But for now, I think these will be a good start. And maybe I'll bounce these ideas off some people I know and see what they think. If you zoom out, kind of get an idea of what these would look like in chat, I think they'll be functional. Obviously, I'll need to play around with the size formatting and make sure everything is scaled properly and doesn't lose any detail. But I think for static, non-animated emotes, it should be fine. I'll figure out the whole animation thing later. And we'll save this. But yeah, I think that will do it for today's drawing stream. I could go into another set of the head-on emotes, but I think that'll end up taking too long. I'll figure out when I'm going to work on those next. Chances are next time we get together for a drawing stream, it's going to be for some actual concept stuff and not stream assets. I did want to take some time today to give people an idea what emotes are going to potentially look like down the road, but I don't want to devote all my drawing streams to just doing work like that when we could do some more fun and interesting things. So before we wrap up, I'd like to thank all the folks who stopped by and hung out today. Again, a bit more of a chill, laid-back format, which is how I generally do these drawing streams, which is a good change after the 5.5 hours of Monster Hunter yesterday. But let's see if anyone is online that I know. Ah, Micro's online. We will go ahead and raid Micro. Well, before we do that, once again, hope you all have a good evening, and I will catch you in the next stream. Let's go and raid Micro.
What happened?
Raka, thank you for the raid, Raka!
Nice.
You gotta meet Raku one day. He's awesome. Super skilled too. And Raku's amazing. I need to collab with Raku. I need to find like the proper time. Like, I'm still struggling with my own projects though.
You have projects?
Yeah, I got something working on. Actually.
No, it was a joke. I know that you have your own projects that you gotta do.
No, I'm serious. Like, I actually got like something planned for like the year.
Nice. That's awesome. Oh boy, watch
But
it.